In this lesson, we're going to look at clarifying your prospects lever. Prospects are people who let you know they are interested in buying. So what we're looking for here is what micro commitment do people make to show they are interested in buying, so they're more than just looking. Now again, depending on your business, this could be a completely different action, but it is an action. So maybe they request a quote, or in a restaurant maybe they book a table, or online maybe they sign up for a free download, or in a retail store maybe they try on a pair of shoes. One of the most important things about prospects is not to skip the definition. Don't ignore prospects. You need to clarify this, and you need to clarify this for a couple of reasons. The first and foremost is, as we say, what gets measured gets managed. And so if you're not measuring these steps that people are taking, then you can't improve them. You can't be aware of them and you can't improve them. When you move on to profit growth, if you haven't defined your prospects properly and you're not aware of them and the steps that they take, you can't improve that tangibly. And there is an important distinction between suspects and prospects, and you need to deal with these people in a different way. You need to talk to them differently. As you're probably aware, if you've ever asked anyone for example, a quote for some work, if you ring someone up and just ask them some questions about their business, they'll take some time and they'll answer your questions politely. But if you ask them for a quote, the way that they deal with you will probably change. They're probably far more attentive. They probably give you far more of their time. And that's something that we need to do when we are working on improving our business. So we need to define these sales funnel steps, and prospects is the one that tends to get left behind. Now, it can be tricky because sometimes this micro commitment can be quite subtle. Sometimes it's as obvious as trying on an item of clothing in a retail store, but sometimes it can be as subtle as asking a question about a product or asking for a demonstration. Another thing to note is that you may see almost identical information around prospects and conversions when you're measuring them. Someone who becomes a prospect might appear to instantly become a conversion, and this is something you shouldn't take for granted. A lot of businesses look this way. For example, supermarkets. Once someone has put something in their basket, you might assume that they're going to buy. Similarly, once someone has sat down at a table in a cafe, you might assume that they're going to order. But if you don't take care of those people, they have the option to leave. Another thing about prospects is it's very common that you're not tracking this right now. You may not even be thinking about it right now because it may be such a subtle micro commitment that people are currently making in your business. So you may need to create something around prospects. You may need to think of a new definition or a new action or a new thing to look out for. Now, if that's true, make a note of it, but don't go overboard trying to put something in place. That is something that is managed properly in our profit growth course. We'll talk about that in more detail. So if you don't have anything in place because you're literally not aware of this at all, then just make a note that you're currently not doing anything about this. So your mini exercise for this lesson is to define what a prospect means in your business. Again, get out your copy of your 7 levers canvas and write down that action they take, the micro commitment that they take to indicate that they are interested in buying. And also make a note of how you currently measure it or how you might measure it if you don't currently measure it.